Our first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to talk to my sister unless she pays me? Why I despise my sister. As first-generation immigrants, my family, my father, my mother, my older sister, and myself, spent our first 2 decades in Australia dancing to and fro across the poverty line. Late in her high school career, my sister decided she wanted to be a physician. But she didn't have the work ethic to get the necessary grades, so the only offer of enrollment she received was from a private university. For context, in Australia, students are entitled to a loan that will typically cover the entirety of their course fees. One exception are courses offered by private universities, as private universities charge a lot more than their public counterparts. In order for my sister to attend this private university, my parents would have to come up with 300,000 Australian dollars over the course of her degree. I'm sure you can imagine how difficult this task would be for a couple earning minimum wage. But my parents loved my sister, so they did whatever it took to enroll my sister into this medical school, even if it meant taking on crippling debt. To make ends meet, both my parents started working 60 to 80 weeks. The hours took their toll on my parents, both physically and mentally. Put it this way, one day my father lost a finger in a workplace accident, and he was overjoyed, because he would receive compensation for it. He was ecstatic that he could trade his finger for a freaking measly $25,000. I had always thought that once my sister graduated, she would pay my parents back. She did not. Not one single freaking cent. Instead, she went gallivanting around the world, buying expensive designer items, and eventually moved interstate. She barely even bothered to stay in touch. Why I believe my sister owes me at least $200,000. I graduated from university 4 years after my sister. For 3 years after graduating, every cent I made went to paying off my parents' debt, so that they could go back to working normal hours. Over the years, I've probably given them $200,000. It's been 7 years since I've graduated university now, and my family is in a much better place. My parents are debt-free and can work standard 35 hours per week jobs. We're financially comfortable for the first time in our lives, and everything is fantastic. Enter my goddamn sister. A few months back, she broke up with her boyfriend. I'm not aware of the details, but she moved back to our state and back home with our parents. My parents are beyond happy to have their daughter back, and they've asked me multiple times to talk to my sister again. But as far as I am concerned, my sister owes me $200,000 before I will even consider being in the same room as her again. Am I the a-hole? Now let's read the top judgments and comments for this post. Not the a-hole. Your sister is a leech. Talk to her very clearly about why you feel she owes you money. State your case and then go forward from there on. Your parents are leeches also. They took your money, all your money, and now have the audacity to get on at you about your relationship with your sister? Nope, not the a-hole. I get why you think that, but please do understand that my parents sacrificed an unfathomable amount so that my sister and I can live the Australian dream. They would ruin their lives without hesitation if it means that we could chase our dreams. So losing just 3 years worth of savings is the least I can do for them. I don't have a problem with the fact that my parents took on crippling debt for my sister. I don't even have an issue with my sister asking my parents to take on said debt. My grievance is solely with my sister's lack of gratitude and failure to give back to the people who gave her the opportunity to be who she is today. I don't think Opie's parents are leeches. Opie did not mention anything about her parents asking her to pay the uni fees. It is very common in immigrant families to have filial piety. It makes sense in this context that Opie would, very generously, take on some of Opie's parents' debt in order to ease their suffering. In my experience, this sense of duty in adult children is sometimes difficult for my non-BIPOC friends to understand. The family unit is also generally much tighter, and Opie's parents welcoming Opie's sister back into the fold and wanting harmony also makes sense to me. That being said, Opie is not the a-hole. Opie's parents are also not the a-hole. They simply place a massive value in their daughter's education and were willing to go to great lengths to provide a better life for her. In Australia, it's unusual that a parent would take on that uni debt long term. This begs the question if there was any communication or agreement between Opie's sister and Opie's parents with regard to tuition payments. Opie's sister needs to consider her parents and her siblings, by extension, financial situation and rectify it. Not the a-hole. Australia isn't like the US. She could have worked hard, gone to a regular uni like NSWU or RMIT or Monash, gotten HECS debt, and paid it back herself as a doctor. It's not like she would be struggling to pay something with how much she would be earning. If you helped your parents pay her debt, she definitely owes you and should be told as much. Everyone sucks here. Your parents did not deal with this situation well, which meant that you have taken on that responsibility when you shouldn't have. You have so much animosity for your sister, but it is your parents who enabled this situation to happen. They did not have to allow her to go to a private university. They did not need to take on so much debt, and they could have insisted that she could pay money back to them. It was not your place to expect this from your sister and place such demands on her if your parents did not want to do that themselves. You don't need to have a relationship with your sister in any form, but you have no right to demand money from her. I disagree. The sister knew what she was doing. She took advantage of their culture to have her parents make extraordinary sacrifices for her, but at the same time is ignoring cultural norms that she should help them in return as they age. That's the end of the first story. Let's jump to the next one. Am I the a-hole for taking my ex-girlfriend off my insurance policy to force her to give me full custody of my daughter? Me and my ex-girlfriend, Haley, have one daughter, 15 female, Elle. I genuinely don't know if I was right to do what I did. Around 4 years ago, Haley had a very bad accident. That ended with her being wheelchair-bound. This caused her to develop a lot of resentment towards me. She would get angry if I worked out or played any sports, so I stopped doing anything physical mostly. We tried counseling for a year, and things didn't improve. In the end, we broke up. Ever since Elle was born, I took out a private insurance for me, Elle and Haley. This helped out a lot when she had her accident. Post-breakup, I still kept her in my insurance because she couldn't find any work, and I knew if I dropped her from the insurance, she wouldn't be able to afford any treatments. It's been 2 years since then. We have 50-50 custody, so I don't pay any child support. In the beginning, I kept a very keen eye to make sure that she didn't resent Elle like she resented me. She didn't, so I relaxed. She is still on that insurance because she is not able to find any job except welfare. I wanted both Haley and Elle to be well, so I kept the insurance. Half a year ago, when Elle came to stay, I noticed that she was very depressed and had gotten very fat compared to before. Nothing overweight, but Elle does ballet, and I have never seen her put on that much weight. Turns out Haley forbade Elle from doing ballet because Haley used to do ballet and Elle is just trying to rub her face in it. The same for any physical activities like sports or exercising. With the quarantine, it must have been hell to live like that. Elle pretty much broke down and said that for the past few months, things have been escalating to the point that she is scared to walk inside her own house. She just stays in her room and comes out only to eat. Elle just begged me to go to court so that I can get full custody. Elle is at an age where her opinion matters in court, but it's almost impossible to get 100% custody in my state unless I can prove incompetency, according to my lawyer. So, I dropped her from the insurance. Elle was supposed to stay with me for the next 6 months. Haley couldn't get a job. She wiped out her savings as she had to pay for all of her treatments. It was getting to the point that she couldn't even afford to get basic things for herself, let alone Elle. I also applied for sole custody. Given her financial situation in the pandemic and Elle's preference, the judge gave me full custody with supervised visitation for Haley. Haley didn't have a good representation at court due to her financial situation. Also, there is a pandemic going on. I left an already vulnerable person without any medical insurance. I know I did what I had to do to protect my child, but I did so by taking advantage of the medical expenses of a disabled woman. Elle is happy. Haley obviously thinks I am a manipulative bastard. Everyone seems to have mixed opinions. Am I the a-hole here? Also, dropping her from my insurance was completely legal. I am not from US. Now let's read the top comments. Elle just begged me to go to court so that I can get full custody. At this point, there are no rules or obligations or important factors outside of this one right here. Your child begged to get out of their situation. You made that happen. That is what a parent does. My hat is off to you, sir. I pity the mother, but she did this to herself, not the a-hole. You're a hero to your daughter, OP. Your wife never moved on with her life. She buried herself in her grief and shoved it into others. She lost her SO and now her daughter. Her accident is horrible, but she can't stop others from living life, especially her own daughter and SO. She didn't just stop others from living life. She was outright abusive. Your child begged to get out of their situation. You made that happen. That broke my heart. I have been exactly where she is. That's not something anyone should ever feel. Feeling guilty/ashamed for something that they're able to do just because someone else can't. Especially not a child. Not the a-hole. So not the a-hole. Your ex bullied your child into unhealthiness because she was bitter. She took her anger at her situation out on her own child intentionally. You did a kind thing for her, even keeping her on your insurance after the breakup at all. She spat on it by damaging the one beautiful thing you had between you, your daughter. You protected a child. Protection of a child outranks protection of a manipulative narcissist. You did the right thing. You sound like a good person, so of course your conscience will weigh heavy. But rest assured, protecting your child was 1000% the right way to go. You trusted a woman to care for and love your daughter. She broke your trust. You don't owe her a damn thing. When I read that the child didn't feel comfortable walking in her own home, that was enough for me. The mother is terrible. I understand that she was put in a wheelchair. No fault of hers, I assume. But that doesn't mean you can bully your daughter for being healthy. Not the a-hole. And now for the final story. Am I the a-hole for not taking care of my disabled daughter? Throwaway account. Also, please excuse my English. I'm not a native speaker. Some background info. I, 41 male, have disabled daughter, Molly, 11 female, with my ex-girlfriend, Sarah, 37 female. This all started 12 years ago. Me and Sarah were together for about 4 years, and we were trying to have a baby. After a couple weeks of trying, she got pregnant, and we were super excited. Unfortunately, in her 4th month, doctors told us that our baby is severely disabled and advised us to get a termination. It was very hard on us. We started arguing a lot because Sarah wanted to keep the baby and I didn't. I said I don't want to spend my whole life taking care of a child and throw everything away. But Sarah didn't want to kill the baby. We argued about this every day. Eventually, it became too much and we broke up. We still kept in contact with each other as friends. Couple months later, she went into labor. I came into the hospital with her to support her. As the doctor said, Molly was born severely disabled. They kept her in the hospital for a couple of weeks and then gave her to Sarah. She took her to her house and I visited them a couple times. Within the next month, I got a job offer and moved away to another city. Me and Sarah are still in contact and I send them money every month, but we meet each other very rarely, about once in 2 years. So now, Molly is 11 years old. She is bound to a wheelchair and will never walk. She has a mind of a 3-year-old and can't speak. Sarah left everything to take care of her. She is at home with her 24/7 because Molly isn't able to do anything on her own. They get state contributions since Sarah can't go to work and I send them money. I have a wife now and 2 daughters, 5-year-old, and we live about 4 hours drive away from Sarah. Sarah has called me last week saying that it's too much on her. She said she does nothing else than take care of Molly and she is tired. She gave up on her career, hobbies, friends, and everything. She asked me to start taking care of Molly as well. She asked if I could have her in my care at least 1 week every 2 months in the beginning, and after I know how to take care of her, then maybe more often. I talked about it with my wife, and we both agreed we don't want to take care of Molly. I apologized to Sarah, and instead, I offered to pay for a professional to take care of her or to pay some facility to take her in, but Sarah refused. She doesn't want a stranger to take care of Molly nor put her away in a facility. I feel really bad for Sarah, but I have a responsibility to my 2 daughters and my wife now. I talked about it with my parents and they understand and don't blame me, but I feel like I might be the a-hole. Now let's read the top comments. Not the a-hole. You offered to pay for a solution, which is very generous. I hate to say it, but this is what she signed up for when she decided to continue the pregnancy. As harsh as it sounds, it is so true. A termination would have been a mercy. Look, no judgment, but in-home care of Molly is not sustainable long run. Eventually, you and her mom will not be around/capable, so you need to find her a good home where she can be cared for and live her best life. The good ones have long waiting lists, so you should be looking into those now. Honestly, Molly's mother should have been looking into them before she reached her breaking point. He doesn't need to do that at all. She should have terminated. Her body, her choice, her responsibility. Women can't have all the rights in regards to termination and not take equal responsibility. OP is paying child support and offered to pay more, and the woman declined. She wants everything to be done her way, and she displayed that when she didn't get determination, and she displayed it again when she declined professional help. I know I'm coming off as harsh, but choices have consequences. Also, if you take the stance that terminations aren't wrong, then logically, you must take the stance that a father should be able to opt out of a pregnancy before the kid is born. And that's the end of the video. Share us your thoughts, like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.